I spent the month of April strapped up, saying goodbye to the gym, and starting my days with a good morning to the neighborhood birds on my 5-mile runs. Question is, how much faster can you get with 1 month of training? So let's jump right in. If you're new here, I got into MAF training about a month ago, and to start off with, I read Dr. Phil Maffetone's entire book, and if you want like 90% of the value of this book, read chapters 3 and 4 on low heart rate training and the MAF test. Speaking of, to begin this month, I did my first MAF test to see what my starting point actually was. Alright, well that was an adventure. We are back here. For each of the pace here, it was, my first mile was 9:09, then 9:16, 9:18, 9:19, and then 9:16. The whole idea of MAF training or low heart rate training is essentially kind of like building a pyramid. If you want to build the tallest pyramid possible, you have to spend more time building the largest foundation you possibly can before you build up. The more time you can spend in this low heart rate zone, in your training, in your running, essentially later on, the taller your fitness can be. So when you run slow, the more time you spend running slow, later down the road, the faster you will be. In order to find out what the maximum training heart rate for you is, you simply take 180 minus your age. If you've had any sicknesses recently or any minor injuries you've been dealing with, also subtract 5 from that last number. And if you train properly, sticking to this heart rate or staying below it, you will eventually get faster at the same heart rate. You have a faster pace per mile at the same heart rate. So for me, that would be like running a faster mile at 158 beats per minute, which is my maximum training heart rate. Now that you know what my starting point was, how much faster can you actually get with 1 month of consistent, accurate training?
Here we are. It is another gorgeous day. I was really expecting it to be much hotter by now, but on the track once again. A little warm up, a little 20 laps around the track. We'll call it a day. I remember last time it was like 9:16, 9:17. That was like my first lap. So it would be awesome if I could get 9 or close to like a sub 9 for my first lap. And I feel like it's very possible in terms of how my last runs have gone. So let's run it. And we're off. We're going the opposite direction today. I don't really know track etiquette of which way is the right way, but we're doing this, babe. Mile 1, crossed the line at 8:30, but my watch went off at 8:47, which is still primo. Mile 2, baby, 8:47. 3 miles down, 8:51. Woo! Mile 4, 8:56. Still feeling good. One more, baby. Here we go. Mile 5, wait for it. There it is, baby. 8:51 to finish. I feel good. I could keep going. Massive success right there. That is 1 month MAF training. No lifting, no speed work. Just put on some shoes, go run. Take it easy. I'll talk more about this when I get back, but like, great. This is a very successful month in terms of testing as a like control month of what progress could look like. So more details about that next.
So I'll cover how I made this progress with my training next, but essentially this last month of training was a massive success. Getting to be a faster runner simply takes time and takes effort, and it takes consistency of showing up every day and just getting the mileage in. But in my mind, it's like I've unlocked a new starting point, and so now every mile I run in the future is going to be 15 to 30 seconds faster. Now there's daily fluctuations and other factors that may change that, but over time, every time I log another run, every time I log another month of training, I'm consistently getting just a bit faster for every mile. Like my bottom end is now racing, if that makes sense. And my goal, if you've ever watched some of my other videos, is to run a sub 4-hour marathon. Well, based off of these MAF test results from round 2, I can do that today if I really wanted to at my low heart rate training. Now, the feeling of progress is great, but how did I actually train? Well, it's as simple as 1, I bought a heart rate monitor to accurately track my heart rate during runs. 2, I never ran above 158 beats per minute, at least according to my heart rate monitor. And although, it happened about once per run in which my heart rate did kind of creep up above that, but I made sure to stop and walk whenever I did notice my heart rate going above that. Most often, this happened when I was going up hills and I'd have to walk up most hills. But throughout the month, every run I did afterwards, this happened less and less, so that consistency, it did start to pay off each day that I noticed. For each run, I did do 5 miles. 95% of them I did in the morning after a cup of coffee, although I did do a few runs that I noticed later in the day, but when it got hotter out later in the day, I found it harder to stick to my usual 158 beats per minute at the pace that I was normally running at. When it's hotter later in the day and you're running outside, there's a lot of factors that essentially just makes it harder to run at your usual heart rate and your usual pace that you're going to. So I naturally just wanted to run in the mornings when it was cooler out. I'll also mention I did 2 long runs, which I still stuck to my 158 beats per minute, but they were both 10 miles each, and I did take a rest day after those long runs. So overall, even though I wasn't consistent each and every day, I still did the same mileage as if I was running 5 miles every day. It's also important to note that I made sure to do 5 minutes of dynamic stretching before each run, and I started each run with 5 minutes walking and 5 minutes to cool down afterwards walking as well. Lastly, Dr. Phil did mention not to do any high intensity workouts during this kind of aerobic base building period. So that includes resistance training. Throughout this entire month, I did not go to the gym once. That being said, how much did my physique change? So I got the first 1 month ago on the left and then updated on the right. I tried to match conditions in terms of lighting and time of day. I tried to make them the same, but overall the difference is like maybe I lost just some slight muscle definition on the right over here. But from like initial look, like just at a glance, you really don't see much of a difference. So let's go with the side view. Now, from this side profile, if anything, I kind of looked a little bit leaner from the starting point. Now, again, I don't know if this is just lighting or whatnot, but I mean, you can kind of see, like, I definitely had a little bit more vascularity there. So maybe running could just be I did lose muscle definition and it's caused me to bloat a little bit more. Overall, like, not too drastic of changes for the time being. Nothing that I can't gain back within, a couple weeks. Now, that being said, I also did weigh about 160 before the month, and I still weighed about 160 today. I woke up, I was 159.3 today. In terms of strength, I also did my first few workouts back in the gym this week, and I was only down around 10 pounds on most lifts. So that's, pretty typical even if I didn't do the running or whatnot. Like, if you take a month off the gym, you got to expect you'll be kind of down from your peak strength back when you were working out. All in all, I made great progress with my aerobic capacity and my aerobic fitness, and I really didn't lose much in terms of physique changes or strength changes, at least nothing that I can't gain back in a short amount of time as well. Moving forward, like I mentioned earlier, the goal is to run a sub 4-hour marathon, which I could confidently do today if I really wanted to, but the long-term goal is to eventually run all of the 6 major marathons, and in order to do that, I need to run a sub 3-hour marathon. So in order to continue increasing my pace, it just takes time and it just takes effort, consistency, showing up, and just continue running. So I'm going to keep finding ways to enjoy the process of getting there because it does take a while to get there. It's simply not about trying to rush progress as fast as possible, but it's trying to find a way to enjoy the progress, because when you enjoy the progress and you can enjoy the routine, you can enjoy the process of getting the progress, you will stick to it. So that's the goal for the long term, and it'll be a ways away, but I think it's a really cool goal. I think that'd be a sick way to travel around the world too. Run some of them like Paris, London. It'd be sick to go travel there because you're also running a marathon there. So it's going to take a lot of consistency, a lot of work, but it's something that I think would be dope. In order to keep making progress, just comes down to as simple as staying below that heart rate when doing my runs. I honestly I won't get fancy with like speed work or any different style of running workouts, but it just simply, can I spend more time on my runs in that low heart rate zone? It's just literally as simple as that. That being said, I'll probably drop it down to around 3 miles per day, so that way I can also have the time for the gym as well and prioritizing physique and strength goals along with my running goals as well, kind of doing a hybrid program. And I'll continue doing monthly MAF tests to accurately track my progress on the same track, so that way I know all the measures are the same. It's just a matter of like, is my pace getting faster or slower at the same heart rate? And if it's slower, that means, I need to change other stuff up because I'm not actually making progress. I'm regressing. If you're somewhat of a beginner runner like me as well, I highly recommend 2 things. One, you do actually go get a heart rate monitor. A lot of times when I was running, you hear a common recommendation of just keep it at conversation pace. And I still found when I was consciously thinking of like, okay, this is my conversation pace, this is equivalent of running in this low heart rate zone. If I didn't have a heart rate monitor, can I still speak in a conversation? Well, on those runs, when I was at that pace, quote unquote, it was still above my 158 beats per minute. And so a heart rate monitor just helps you be more accountable and just be more accurate with your training as well, and helps you actually make the progress you want to see. So it is a worthy investment of your money and your time to actually go get a heart rate monitor. I also recommend you find a pair of running shoes that gets you excited to get out the door, because a lot of this part of this training and the aerobic base building period is just simply about getting out the door and running and having consistency and being able to show up every day. So when you have a pair of running shoes that actually gets you excited to go run, it just makes it that much more easy to show up. This aerobic base building period, the style of training, it's not a sexy pace to run at, and it's not super interesting workouts. It's just simply about nailing the basics and being consistent with the basics, even when they're boring. And so when you can find any way to make doing the boring basics just a little bit more fun, a little bit more easy, that's a win in my book. And that's definitely something also worth investing your time and money in as well. That is a wrap for this video, and that is all I got for you in this stage of my More Than Running series. If you had any other questions or insights about running, training, nutrition, you name it, leave them in a comment down below. I will reply to all of y'all. I appreciate your support. If you want more content like this and you're also interested in just health and fitness, living a full life, then subscribe for more to come. Other than that, you guys will catch me in the next video.